I am Jack Taylor, and I have spent my whole life building a perfect marriage. If someone asked me about my family, I would tell them that I have a wonderful wife and two amazing kids. I dedicated all my heart to my work, my family life, and never doubted that anything would change. We lived in a beautiful house in Orange County, with the deep blue beach just a few minutes' drive away. Everything was like a dream. My wife, Sophia, was the perfect woman in my eyes. She was intelligent, charming, and always knew how to make everything around us shine. We met while we were in college. I was studying public safety management, and she was studying economics. Though we came from different worlds, we quickly became life partners. We got married after graduation, not with an extravagant wedding, but with all our friends and family present to offer their blessings. The early years of our marriage passed like a dream. I found my dream job in the police force, and Sophia got a job at a big financial company. Both of us were busy with work, but we always made time for each other every night. Our family life became even more complete when Ethan, our first son, was born. 2 years later, Charlotte, our beautiful daughter, was born, and our family was filled with laughter. My world seemed perfect. But everything changed one winter night when I received an invitation to attend a company party where Sophia worked. I can never forget that encounter. At the party, I happened to meet Brad Harris, a tall man with a cold face. When Brad shook my hand, I felt a strange tension. From his gaze to his smile, everything about him made me uncomfortable. But what worried me more was when he said, "Congratulations on your promotion, Jack. Sophia told me you're a talented cop." I nodded slightly. "Thanks, Brad. I've heard Sophia mention you many times." At that moment, I didn't realize, but the unsettling feeling clung to me. After a few drinks and some casual conversation, I began to notice how Brad looked at Sophia. Something was off, as if there was an unspoken understanding between them that I didn't know about. When the party ended, I took Sophia home. On the way back, the atmosphere between us was heavy. I spoke up. "That was Brad, right? Your old friend?" Sophia looked at me for a moment and nodded. "Yes, he's an old college friend. Didn't you tell me he moved to New York?" I asked, slightly irritated. "Well, I didn't think it was important," Sophia replied, her gaze slightly evasive. I felt like there was a weight on my chest. "Didn't he tell you something?" Sophia turned to me, her eyes a little odd. "He's just an old friend, Jack. Nothing more." Even though she said that, I couldn't shake the feeling of discomfort. I had never seen Sophia so less than honest. But I said nothing more, only silently drove, trying not to let this unease overwhelm me. At home, I took off my coat and quickly went to the bathroom. Brad's words, his gaze, and the strange feeling I had when shaking his hand haunted me. Suddenly, I felt something I couldn't explain. Something had changed in my marriage, even though I couldn't pinpoint what it was. That night, I couldn't sleep. The doubts burned in my mind like fire. Maybe I was just creating problems for myself, but why did Brad say that about Sophia? Why did I feel like he wasn't just an ordinary friend of hers? The next morning, Sophia went to work early as usual. I wasn't the type to spy on her, but today was different. I decided to follow her, just to be sure. Although I'm a cop, I still couldn't help but feel like I was becoming a paranoid person, but I couldn't ignore this feeling. Her business trips were becoming more frequent, and every time she came back, Sophia seemed cheerful, but there was something off about her. She no longer shared much about her work, and I began noticing small details, like her leaving early and coming back late or turning off her phone when we were together. But there was one thing I couldn't deny. I felt like I had already lost Sophia. When I decided to follow her, I wasn't prepared for what would happen. I couldn't deny these strange feelings anymore. Since meeting Brad, everything had started to change. His words, the way he looked at Sophia, it was like a warning I couldn't hear back then, but now they echoed in my mind. I began paying more attention to Sophia's business trips, even though she always said it was important work that couldn't be postponed. But there were small details I couldn't ignore. She always came home late, sometimes meeting clients, sometimes having dinner with business partners, but when I asked about meetings or trips, Sophia kept a shield that I couldn't break through. She gradually became a stranger in our own home. One night, while I was working in my office, I received an unexpected message from Jennifer, a colleague of Sophia's. "You don't know this, but I have to tell you. Sophia isn't the person you think she is. She and Brad reconnected after she moved to New York." Every word in that message felt like a slap to my face. Everything I had trusted now collapsed. She and Brad. Again. I felt like a fool, but I couldn't let this feeling go. My mind was spinning with unspoken questions. How long had they been deceiving me? Unable to sit still, I decided to follow Sophia. Once again, I was avoiding the truth, but now I couldn't turn back. That night, she said she would have dinner with an old company associate. I didn't know what to do, but I knew that if I didn't find out, I wouldn't be able to live peacefully. When she left, I quietly followed, trying not to make a sound. But I accidentally dropped a glass. It felt like the world was collapsing. Sophia stopped, but she didn't turn back. That's when I realized that these meetings weren't about work. I followed her to a nearby hotel. From the window, I could see them walking in together, followed by tight embraces, passionate kisses. Everything shattered in front of me. The numbness, the difficulty breathing. The blurry photos I secretly took became undeniable evidence. I couldn't sleep all night, unable to stop thinking about what had just happened. The feeling of betrayal made me feel like a stranger in my own home. I wondered, how could I continue living with this woman? How could I trust her words again? A week later, when Sophia went on another business trip, I decided to take action. I hired a private investigator to follow her and document everything. Photos, videos, everything was recorded in detail. Brad was present on our business trips as well. They seemed to no longer hide it. From the way they looked at each other to their intimate gestures, everything was clear. The worst part was that after every business trip, Sophia would come back and act loving toward me as if nothing had happened. She would smile that smile, look at me with those eyes, but now I knew it was all just a facade. Every time I hugged her, I only felt coldness. One evening, when Sophia came back from her business trip, I couldn't hold back anymore. "Can you explain what's going on?" I asked, my voice firm, no longer patient as before. Sophia looked at me, not surprised. She had prepared for this moment for a long time. "Jack, I can't tell you everything. You won't understand." "I understand now. How long have you and Brad been deceiving me? You thought I would never find out?" I said angrily, each word feeling like a knife stabbing her heart. She didn't say anything, only looked at me with eyes full of guilt and a bit of confusion. But then, she lowered her head, unable to hide the truth anymore. "Why him?" I pressed, my heart full of pain. "He's the only one who made me feel truly alive, Jack. He's the one I never could forget, but I love you," she answered, her voice trembling. Nothing could ease the pain I felt then. All her words echoed, unable to soothe the ache in my heart. My children, my family, and everything I had believed in for so long now crumbled. I looked into Sophia's eyes, trying to stay composed. "Do you think I'll just accept this? Do you think I'll live a life forever?" Sophia remained silent, with nothing more to say. Everything was clear now. She couldn't say anything more, and I didn't need to hear any more excuses. I turned away, my heart shattered. I couldn't face her anymore. After Sophia left, I felt like I had been freed from a huge burden. The sense of relief didn't come immediately, but I knew I had done the right thing. Yes, everything now seemed too late to salvage, but at least I could regain control of my life. No more doubts, no more lies. I had prepared myself to start a new life, without Sophia, without the lies she had built over the years. The children may not have been mine, but they were my world, and I wouldn't let a woman who had deceived me destroy that. I needed to protect them. Even though I had decided on a divorce, I couldn't easily let go of Ethan and Charlotte. They weren't my biological children, but for many years, I had raised them and loved them as my own. I was determined not to let everything fall apart just because of one painful secret. I turned to Lucy Hawkins, the lawyer I had hired to help with the case. We discussed the next steps, from handling shared property to custody of the children. Even though the DNA test didn't confirm that I was their biological father, I still had the right to raise them, and I wouldn't give up. The court would decide, but I believed that justice would be on my side. Even though Sophia had betrayed me, I didn't want to be someone who was just seeking revenge. I wanted the truth to come out, and I wanted to make sure that Ethan and Charlotte wouldn't be hurt any more than they already had been. As the court date approached, Sophia was no longer the person I had once loved. She arrived looking weary, with dark circles under her eyes, as if she had been waiting for this moment for a long time. We stood facing each other, no greetings, no affectionate glances. All that remained was coldness, like two strangers. "Jack, what will you do after everything is over?" Sophia asked, her voice weak. I looked at her, my gaze devoid of anger, only exhaustion. "I'll continue living my life." "What about you? What will you do when you've lost everything you had?" Sophia lowered her head, unable to say anything. She knew she had lost everything. She had lost her family, the husband she once loved, and the children she could never redeem. The day of the court session turned out to be more tense than I had expected. Sophia didn't contest the divorce, but she continued to avoid taking responsibility for Ethan and Charlotte. With Lucy's support, I fought for custody of them. In the end, the court decided that I would retain full custody and care for them, while Sophia would face the legal consequences of her deceitful actions in the marriage. When the case was over, I took Ethan and Charlotte home. Both children still didn't fully understand what had happened, but I would always be here to explain it to them, to make sure they knew that I would always be the father they needed. Life after the divorce wasn't easy. The first few months passed in loneliness and isolation. Everything I had once trusted now felt like a distant memory. But I didn't stop. I found peace again through my work, in relationships with colleagues, and most importantly, in the relationship I had with the children I loved. A year later, I met with Dr. Wilkerson, the therapist I had seen during the divorce proceedings. She helped me find balance in my life, helping me understand that even though life can be painful, I could still grow from the failures. "You've been through a great battle, Jack," she said. "But what matters is that you're still standing. The children will understand that your love for them hasn't been affected by anything. And that's what matters." She was right. I didn't need to worry about what had passed. What I needed to do was keep moving forward, and I would teach Ethan and Charlotte that love and honesty are the foundation of a family. The final lesson of the story is about honesty, resilience, and responsibility. No matter how difficult life may be, no matter the betrayal and deceit, we can still stand up and start over. Facing the truth, no matter how painful, is the only way to find peace within ourselves. And even if it's not always acknowledged, true love and sacrifice will build a strong family and a bright future.